First, we need to understand what the word plenum actually means in the context of a building. Think about a large commercial office building. You have the regular ceiling that you look up and see from your desk, which is often a drop ceiling made of square acoustic tiles. Above those tiles, and below the actual structural concrete roof of the floor above you, there is an empty, dark space. Sometimes, this empty space is also found below a raised floor in a server room. This specific open area is used by the building's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system, which is commonly spelled out as HVAC. This space allows environmental air to circulate freely back to the central air conditioning units. Because this space handles the breathable air for the entire building, it is called the plenum space. Now, let us picture a network technician who needs to install new computer networks. The absolute easiest way to run the network cables, like unshielded twisted pair, or UTP, from the main server room to the office cubicles, is to simply throw them up over that drop ceiling and pull them across the building. However, doing this creates a massive safety hazard. Standard network cables have an outer protective jacket made of a cheap plastic called polyvinyl chloride, or PVC. If a fire starts in the building, and the extremely hot flames reach those standard PVC cables, the plastic jacket catches fire very easily. Worse, as that standard plastic burns, it releases thick, dark, and highly toxic smoke. Because these cables are sitting right in the plenum space, where the building air circulation happens, the building's HVAC system would instantly suck up that toxic smoke and pump it into every single room in the building. People would be breathing in poisonous gas before the fire even got close to their section of the office. This brings us directly to what Plenum Rated refers to in your studies. Building fire codes and the COMPTIA exam objectives require a special type of cable to be used anytime you are running wires through that specific air circulation space. A Plenum Rated cable has a highly specialized outer jacket. Instead of standard cheap plastic, it is usually made of advanced materials like Teflon or fluorinated ethylene polymer, which is known as FEP. This special plenum jacket has two absolutely critical safety properties. First, it is highly fire retardant. It takes a much higher temperature to catch fire, and it does not burn easily or help the fire spread across the ceiling. Second, and most importantly for human safety, if it does somehow melt or burn under extreme heat, it produces almost zero smoke, and the small amount of smoke it does produce is non-toxic. This means if there is an emergency fire, the building's ventilation system will not be spreading deadly chemical fumes to the workers trying to escape inside. There are a few important trade-offs you should know for the real world and for the exam questions. Because Plenum Rated cables use specialized materials like Teflon, they are significantly more expensive to purchase than standard PVC cables. Additionally, the safety jacket is noticeably stiffer. It is not as flexible, which can make it a little bit harder for the network technician to bend and route the cable around tight corners during the physical installation. But despite the higher cost and the stiffness, the safety benefits and the strict local fire code laws make it absolutely mandatory to use. Another key piece of knowledge is that plenum rating only refers to the outside jacket of the cable. It has nothing to do with the wires inside or the speed of the network. You can have a Category 6 cable that is Plenum Rated and a Category 6 cable that is standard PVC. They both transmit data at the exact same gigabit speeds. The only difference is fire safety. For the 220-1201 exam, you need to quickly recognize the trigger words in the situational questions. The exam will almost never simply ask you to define the word plenum. Instead, they will give you a troubleshooting or installation scenario. For example, the question might say a network technician has been asked to run new network drops to a group of cubicles and needs to route the cable through the space above a false ceiling. Or they might say the cables need to be pulled through an air return duct. The exact moment you read the phrases above the drop ceiling, raised floor, air duct, or ventilation space, your brain should immediately think of Plenum Rated cable. The exam might offer you multiple choice options like PVC, shielded twisted pair, or fiber optic. But if the scenario takes place in an airspace, the jacket rating is the most critical factor, making plenum the only correct answer. Finally, the exam sometimes likes to test your knowledge by offering riser-rated cable as an option to trick you. Riser space refers to the vertical shafts in a building, like an elevator shaft or the empty space where cables run vertically from the first floor up to the second floor. Riser-rated cables are designed specifically to prevent fire from traveling upwards from floor to floor. However, riser-rated cables are not as strict on the toxic smoke requirements as plenum cables. Therefore, a good rule to remember is that you can use a high-quality plenum-rated cable in a vertical riser space, but you absolutely cannot use a riser-rated cable in a horizontal plenum space. To summarize everything for your studying, plenum refers to the environmental air circulation space above ceilings or below floors. Regular PVC cables create dangerous, toxic smoke when burned. Plenum-rated cables use special materials to be highly fire-resistant and produce safe, non-toxic smoke. They are more expensive and harder to bend, but mandatory for safety. Whenever the exam mentions running any network cable in the ceiling airspace, plenum is always the answer you should choose.